The Deacon answered Chapelton prayers, Portmore spoils Harbour fun in the rain, and Jerusalem found his new hero. But we start one place and one place only, and that's in the jungle, where Arnett face a familiar foe. This is Match Week 5 review show. Yes people, welcome back to Jamaica Fan, and we're here for our first round of midweek action. The rain dampened spirits a bit with 2 games in Portmore cancelled, but we're going to start right in the jungle as Arnett will welcome the visit of Mount Pleasant. Now these two guys actually faced each other already in the season, and that's in the CCC, where Arnett actually lost their game 2-1 to Mount Pleasant. But the lineups this time are completely different. First of all, Arnett make 5 changes from their last time out against Montego Bay, including the surprise start for Ricardo White in goal, which makes 3 goalkeepers already getting a start in the league so far. The other major change saw Kenella Brown comes into the team for his first start of the season. But we should also keep an eye on the bench, as club captain Fabian Reid is fairly fit again to start on the bench. While more players make some changes of their own, of course Sean Davis is back in goal after his international duty. We also saw the likes of Anglin remain there. Jean-Claude Ferreira is also back as the number 10. And the bigger surprise is that Bradford made way for Raheem Edwards as centre forward. Now, it's been a running joke by me that, Arnett have started every game like a bullet. But surprise, surprise, more players started this game the much brighter. They came out swinging at the kickoff, and Jean-Claude Ferreira got the first big shot at goal with this effort. They should have got the lead honestly while Raheem Edwards was played in by a beautiful pass behind the back line, and on the right foot he managed to get the ball just past the upright. So Mount Pleasant was definitely in striking range and definitely seemed that we would score first, but no one would expect what would happen next. Basically out of nowhere, in a nothing ball from behind the back, Arnett launched the ball forward, and I have no idea what's going on, but it's a mix up between Cummins and Davis. So Arbine got slipped in with a free shot at goal, and of course he took full advantage. 1-0, and it basically came out of nowhere. When you look at the replay, it seemed that Cummins had things under control, but instead of trying to marshal the ball back to his goalkeeper, it seemed that he tried to take the ball out of the air and slipped, and saw Arbine able to waltz past Davis. But you should also ask why the goalkeeper is out there so far, and if you're a St. man, you'll be upset that they let up this kind of goal. So 1-0 to Mount Pleasant, but credit to them, they kept coming. Devontae Campbell and Gadiel Irving have struck up a great partnership on the left and was terrorizing the Arnett back line. They came forward numerous times to try to create something and came close on many occasions. The Arnett was still holding their own, and while they weren't on their fluent best, they didn't have Mount Pleasant all their own way, and they had still chances of pressure of their own, but didn't necessarily create any major shot on target. But it seemed that anything that came in the Mount Pleasant box, Cummins made a meal of it, and it seemed that they were going to let up a goal at any moment. So lucky for them, their equalizer came at the right time. It came in the 41st minute from a corner, which was placed in, and Ricardo White, I felt, should have did more to come on his box, but he fluffed his lines. But after being challenged by McCullough in the air, and while the ball bounced around a bit, it fell to the right man, and that's the dreadless Kimoni Bailey, who was able to tap it in and give Mount Pleasant a deserved equalizer. 1-1, and Mount Pleasant come again to try to get one before the half, but the whistle came and saved Arnett, and they went into the break. The second half though is an entirely different story, as there were more blows of Ocean Nation's whistle than there were shots on target. The referee constant meddling of the game honestly slowed things up, as I thought some of the calls he was making were a bit soft, and therefore the game flow got choppy and it was slow to a crawl. But there were still chances for both teams really. Ming made a meal of this long ball and Arbine got in behind him, but his shot was too straight and it went to Davis. But I must also give Gilbert credit as well, as they have notified that Pharaoh had too much of his own way in that first half, and they tightened up midfield a bit and became more physical on the Brazilian number 10. Because of that, the great flowing passing movement that we saw in the first half, become stifled, and they could never muscle up much shot going forward. They still have their moments here. Anglin stole the ball in midfield, brought it through the lines, and have a good shot on his weaker foot, but again he failed to pick out a corner and found the hands of Wright. And it also got a chance to go ahead in the game. Warner Brown was absolutely a ghost the entire game, but the one touch he finally get in the opposition box, he was a free header and it was a good try, but Davis was able to match it. After this, the likes of Nichols and Green came in for Mount Pleasant to try and get him the winner, and they almost combined and did just that. After a nice movement by Nichols, he saw Green come in on the box, but Wright was quick to come out and close the angle and snuff out the chance. the game seemed to be heading for a 1-1 draw, where Irving floated this ball into the back post, and Ming, I felt sure it would be better, but his bullet header go over the bar. So that basically signaled that this game was not going to go nowhere, and there would be no winners. So eventually the whistle was blown for the final time, and it ended in 1-1. Alright, let's look at a quick peek at the stats for this game. Alright, Arnett had 5 total shots in the game compared to 9 from Mount Pleasant. Arnett only managed 1 on target, and it was a slow ball that rolled into the back of the empty net for the 1 shot on target, while Mount Pleasant had 3 shots on target. There were 16 fouls by Arnett compared to 11 by Mount Pleasant, 3 yellow cards by Arnett, 2 by Mount Pleasant, no red cards, and Mount Pleasant controlled majority of the possession. So yeah, that was the game. This was billed as the big clash of the round, and it started out well in the first half, but the conditions of course didn't help, and Ocean Nation didn't help in the second half, so the game kind of fairly even out in the end. I was a bit disappointed by both teams really. Arnett of course came into this game with under pressure. There was whispers of Gilbert being under pressure, and it seemed that they played not to lose, and Mount Pleasant, I felt, should have done more in the second half to try to go for the win. But in the end, the scoreline was probably justified, and it ended Arnett Guns 1, Mount Pleasant 1. Okay, we now move on to our next game, and that is at Jerusalem, where Waterhouse was playing at home for the first time this season, and get this, it will be under lights, and they welcome the visit of Vere Phoenix United. Now Waterhouse come into this game basically unchanged, so therefore you saw the likes of Brown again at right back, Wills in defense, Shamara Booth in midfield, and the likes of Blair and Dallas also in the team still. While Vere, their lineup was not so lucky, there were major changes in their squad. There was a change at goalkeeper, it has Arson came in for there. We also got a rare look at Dane Ewen into the team, and Kyle Butler kept his place in that midfield. Now, any game that involves Vere, you feel like you know what's going to happen at the start. Vere look their usual self at kickoff, look to keep possession of the ball, especially at the back, as they try to draw the Waterhouse team out of possession. But the Waterhouse team was watchful, and they just kept their shape, and eventually took their time moving up the field, and eventually boxed into the Vere Phoenix United in their own half. It led to a chance for Waterhouse, which they should have done better, and from there Waterhouse basically controlled a bit of the first half. They kept hold of the ball a bit better, and they were utilizing their fullbacks on either side to get the ball squared into the box and create chances. Vere had a bit of issue getting past that mid-press, and they had to rely on Route 1 to get the opening goal. The ball was launched deep into Waterhouse defense, and after the initial clearances and a slight tackle, the ball fell to Dane Ewen, who decided to have a monster blast and beat Wilson with 20 yards out. But credit to Waterhouse, they shoot it off quickly and then got into their usual style on how they have been looking the entire game, and eventually it led to a corner where they got the equalizer by the new star Bygrave after the ball was floated into the box a couple times. Eventually came from the left hand side. Brown in the 18-yard box was able to flick on the ball into the 6-yard box, and Bygrave, who had to take 2 bites at the cherry, finally tucked it home and gave Waterhouse a deserved equalizer. From there, you could say it was all Waterhouse at the moment, as Vere struggled to keep up and even picked up 2 yellow cards as Waterhouse tempo sped up, and eventually they got the second goal. It again is from another set piece. Deep from the right hand side, the ball was floated to the back post, and he found an unmarked Bygrave, who was calmly flicked the ball past Harrison and then calmly into the back of the net. 2-1, and the Jerusalem fans were loving it, and Waterhouse now had the lead. But credit to Vere, they rallied back as fast as they can and even managed to pull Wilson into a decent save right before the end of the first half. The second half, they started just as strongly as they ended the first, and they came at Waterhouse with everything they got. There was no change in tactics, and their pressing line was now much higher, and they engaged the Waterhouse much closer to their own box, and they were now winning the ball much earlier. It caused Wilson into action once more, and he again pulled off a good save to keep Waterhouse in the lead. It took some time, but Waterhouse managed to cover up some good counters, and they will be disappointed that they didn't kill this game off earlier. That pattern kept up most of the game, where Vere was trying their best to find the equalizer, while Waterhouse was getting 1 and 2 chances on the break, and again they were fluffing their lines. Lucky for them though, that equalizer never came, and Waterhouse eventually held on for a debut win at home this season, 2-1. Alright, so there was a good game, but how was it in terms of stats? So Waterhouse had 15 total shots in the game compared to 12 from Vere. As I said to you, it was a much more even game in the second half. Waterhouse had 10 shots on target compared to 7 by Vere. Waterhouse had 10 corners, and they made use of one of those of course, and 6 corners to Vere. 2 yellow cards to Waterhouse, 4 to Vere, and no red cards. So yeah, Waterhouse keep finding a way to get it done. I felt this was one of their better performances so far this season. And Bygrave keep getting the job done in replacing those goals from Brian last season. As for Vere, again another defeat, but again this time I see encouragement in their performance in the second half, and they will hope to keep the momentum going if they want to move away from the relegation zone. But for now, it ended Waterhouse 2, Vere Phoenix United 1. We are moving from Jerusalem to catching all, as Montego Bay United was hosting Molynes United. Now Moby are riding high after some good victories that saw them near the top of the table, and they know a win here will give them the overall number 1 lead. While Molynes are also buzzing after a convincing 4-0 victory in the last game out, and they will be hoping to keep the momentum for this one. The starting lineup for Moby see them unchanged from the last game against Arnett, while Molynes saw their heroes from last game, Graham and Brown, stayed in the starting lineup as they look to support Jason Wright up top. But when the game kicked off, it was all Montego Bay United in this one. The home team was absolutely cooking, and they were coming at Molynes at all angles. Molynes was struggling to keep up, so they basically saw they fouled a lot of Montego Bay outside their box, which means a lot of set-piece chances came Montego Bay's way, and you could argue they missed some sitters. But you felt the goal was just a matter of time, and eventually came from the captain himself. A knock-cross ball was played into the box, and Odean Samuels made a mistake and ended up handling the ball, and you know it's going to be a penalty from there on out. Upstate Owen Garden who coolly slotted away and gave Moby the deserved 1-0 lead. Molynes was obviously still shaking as within a blink of an eye, Shanil Thomas got his goal and double lead for Montego Bay in the 26th minute. So Moby after this was basically cruising. I was looking to find him third, but it never come before the end of the first half. In the second half though, there's a raft of 3 changes by Coach Thomas for the second half as they try to get back into this one, and I must give them credit, it seemed to work a bit as Molynes came up with more purpose in that second half as they were looking to come back into the game early. But that of course lead them stretched at the back, and Moby took full advantage when Thomas was played in again behind the back line and coolly slotted it away to give him his second and Montego Bay's third. Molynes kept fighting though, and eventually they were able to draw a penalty. Just Wright decided to take it, but he faced a block by Aaron Enel, who was able to keep Moby's clean sheet safe. That basically demoralized Molynes, of course, and Moby was able to tuck them away fully when Brian Brown was able to go in behind the back line once more and calmly slot home his first of the night and Moby's fourth. The game eventually ended right then and there, and Montego Bay walked away with a 4-0 home victory over Molynes. Alright, so let's look at the stats for this one, just to show their sheer dominance, especially in the first half. Moby had 14 total shots compared to Molynes 6. Moby had 7 on target and 4 on target in reply was from Molynes. 5 corners for Moby, 3 for Molynes, 1 yellow card for Moby, 2 for Molynes, and no red cards in the game. But yeah, very impressive showing by Moby. This is more of what I wanted from them after seeing them last week against Arnett, where that attack was fairly clicking and give the defense a break. I know they've gone to the top of the table, and that's probably where they deserve to be. While Molynes should be encouraged a little bit by that second half showing, but they were simply poor again to start the game, and after they got away with it in Chapelton last week, there's no way Moby would allow them the same fortune. Anyway, it ended Montego Bay 4, Molynes United 0. Now we are moving on to the Clarendon derby, but guess what? It was not played in Clarendon, we actually were played in Arnett Gardens. Chapelton was playing quote-unquote host to Harbour Lion, and they basically have the same starting lineup despite the thrashing they got against Molynes last week out. So that include another Clarendon derby for veteran Andrew Vanzi. While Harbour Lion, the big news for them in their starting lineup is that Kemar Bushy-Beckford was finally making her debut and will look to help Andre Clennon with some goals up top. No, we have stated that he was raining cats and dogs in Kingston all day long, and the field was a bit muddy and waterlogged, and he felt it would hurt Chapelton's style of play more than it would do the Harbour Lion. But credit to Chapelton, they kept to their usual formula of holding the ball, but the first threatening moments of the games actually came from the Lions. From a set piece, the ball was played into the box, and Clennon did a good job to get his head onto it, but only managed to find the post. Another set piece saw Audrey Morgan got a shot on goal, but he blasted over the bar. But a decent start by Harbour Lion nonetheless. But Chapelton finally found their footing eventually, and after some nifty play by the likes of Deacon, Williams was behind the back line and played a good cross across the 6-yard box, but just could not find Malik Stevens. But it was sign of things to come as they were now playing the better football. Again, they were waltzing their way into the Lions box and got numerous shots off, and when you see the likes of Kimmer Buxley Beckford have to be the one in his own box to block shots, you know Molynes was into a tough moment. But they could argue it was still 0-0 until this. What a goal is ended up to be from the cross, keep the ball floating into the box, and on the volley, Demar Deacon, who of course is from Arnett, trashed the ball into the back of the goal and deserved his happy celebrations. Church wasn't over just yet though, because from this corner the ball was played out of the box to Demar Deacon's feet, and with a beautiful left curler into the box, he picked out an unmarked Gawain Austin, who knocked the ball past the keeper into the back of the net. It was a good assist to Ante Deacon's good night, and Austin, who is now having a renaissance in making the move to Chapelton, makes it 2 for the Maroons. Molynes did not have much in reply, and the first half eventually came, but the second half, Molynes stepped up the tempo a bit to try to get back into the game, and to their credit, they should have probably found at least one back after their own set piece found Bushy Beckford into the box, but his one-time shot go over the bar. But sadly for them, that would be all they mustered, because in the 66th minute, Andre Clennon got himself a second yellow card from this challenge, and I must say I think it was incredibly harsh to give him a yellow card there. But nonetheless, he got his marching orders and Molynes was down to 10. That effectively killed all hopes for them to come back into the game, and Chapelton was now basically just having a bit of training session on the field, playing 1 and 2 triangles before it eventually tested the Molynes back line. But then they picked up their own red card, a bit of a silly one as well, where Captain Howe found himself, trying to shrug off a challenge. I was deemed to place his hand too high in the opponent's face and picked up his second yellow card and was now ejected from the game as well. Again, looking at the replay, again a bit soft, but now they're down to 10-10. But it didn't matter, the game was effectively over at this point, and Deacon should have got another goal, but he was through the entire midfield, then the back line, and then in and goal, he made his shot go wide. I was screaming at my TV for him to pass that ball to Williams, but when a young player's under form and confidence, you cannot understand he's going for the shot. Nonetheless, the damage was done and the game ended. Chapelton 2, Molynes 0. Alright, so we now have to go look at the stats for this one real quick. Chapelton had 10 total shots compared to Molynes 6. Chapelton managed to have 4 of those on target though, compared to only 2 from Molynes. 10 fouls in Chapelton compared to 11 from Molynes. It wasn't really a dirty game, yet we still managed to have 3 yellow cards for Chapelton and 4 for Molynes, and of course a red card apiece. But this Clarendon Derby clearly went the way of Chapelton, who stuck to the way they want to play and was deserving of their win. Demar Deacon will be a menace this season for any opponent he plays. While Molynes finally break the streak of 4 draws, but unfortunately for them, it was a loss. But they should take heart in that second half how they played and try again come back in the next game. But for now, it finishes Chapelton 2, Molynes 0. Alright, for our final game, we'll go to Harbour Mini Stadium for a rain-effective Harbour taking on Portmore United. Alright, so information for this game is slim to none, so we honestly don't really have much to tell in terms of starting lineups or effectively all the game, basically played out a bit. The first goal actually came very early in the second minute at 10 Brian gave Portmore the lead, and again I don't know how Harbour necessarily responded. But they did find their own equalizer in the second half. In the roughly the 68th minute, Rowan Brown turned and swiveled and made this good shot to get past the keeper into the back of the net to tie the game up 1-1 for Harbour View. But it seemed after this, Portmore turned to the usual super sub, Shaquille Henry, who came in and gave Portmore the eventual winner, 2-1. There was still a moment where it could have been worse. Portmore did draw a penalty, but Romar Palmer, who's having a bit of a renaissance so far this season, was able to block out this shot. But nonetheless, Portmore did enough and they escaped from Harbour View 2-1. So all that's left now is look at the table. Montego Bay is sitting pretty on top as they leapfrog Cavalier into first with 4 wins from 5, giving them 12 points. Cavaliers saw their game and their lead at the top washed away. They remain second with 10 points. Waterhouse now is up to third with 9 points from 3 wins. More Pleasant is creeping up with 7 points from their 3 wins. Harbour pegged back a bit into 5th with 7 points. And Portmore is into the top 6 with 6 points. We move down the table and see Molynes sit in 12 with 3 points for their 4 games. Tivoli was idle, so they remain in 13th with 1 point from 3 games. And Dumbo was also idle, so they still have 0 points from 3 games in 14 positions. So alright guys, that does it all for this midweek review of what's happening in match week 5. A good games all around, and we witnessed some real bangers. Hopefully we see it all over again this weekend as match week 6 come approach. So of course look for the preview show for that tomorrow. But for now we are heading out of here. Please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you updated on all things in the Jamaican Premier League for this entire season. Otherwise, for great JBL content, you're already in the right place. JBL Fan. YouTube, big up yourself.